The customer experience should be as blurry as possible. I reckon it's better to watch a lion in the wild. Businesses that think the answer is don't change, I think you're fucked.
Welcome to Add to Cart, the podcast that express delivers all you need to know in the fast-moving world of e-commerce. Every month, Nathan Bush from 12 High and an e-commerce industry expert will share the news, research and insights that you need to know to keep you at the top of your game. And of course, keep your customers adding to cart.
Hello there and welcome to the Add to Cart podcast. My name is Nathan Bush, host of Add to Cart and strategist at e-commerce consultancy 12 High. In today's episode, we are discussing something that is very close to my heart, which is customer insights and creativity. How do we get to the real truth behind why customers do what they do? And how do we connect with them on an emotional level? Joining me today is the legendary Matt Newell, who is a partner and CEO at The General Store, who specialize in retail strategy and innovation. They're actually an agency, not a retail store, by the way. Like myself, Matt has a background in advertising and has always seen the world through the customer's lens. And it's seen in his work. The General Store has helped retailers such as Freedom, Supercheap Auto, and one of this show's favorites, The Iconic, deliver really memorable and differentiated retail experiences across all touchpoints. Our conversation today explores the lessons from these experiences, as well as shining a spotlight on retailers such as Lush and Walmart, who are really performing at the next level in terms of retail experiences. Before we get into our conversation, I've just got a couple of warnings. This was recorded pre-COVID, and that leads us into our second point, which we recorded this in the lobby of the Pullman Hotel at Inside Retail Live, back when you could go to conferences. So please forgive the random phone calls and the elevators in the background. No coughing, thankfully. There are also a couple of F-bombs dropped, so just in case you have some budding retailers listening with you, be warned. Now, thanks to our partners Shopify Plus and Klarna, let's dive straight into customer insights with Matt Newell.
Hello, Matt.
G'day.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Mate, we are at Inside Retail Live and you've just come off stage with Michael Fox telling the story of Shoes of Prey, the ups and downs and the lessons out of that. How'd you find it?
Good. Yeah, it was good. I mean, props to Mike, I think that was his first live interview post the winding up of Shoes of Prey. And yeah, I think great, of him to sort of share his learnings and his stories. There's everyone talks about the successes, but there's so many learnings in the hard side of business and retail. So I thought he shared really, generously, and yeah, I thought it was a good sesh.
It was very honest.
Yeah, it was. It was good on him. Yeah,
but also you were honest too.
Yeah,
I think because your relationship with him goes back a fair way as well, right?
Yes. Yeah. In fact, met him at Supercheap Auto, where effectively you and I met.
That's right.
So yeah, he's sort of a Super Retail Group alumni, much like yourself. Yeah.
True. Well, off the cuff, my favourite quote from you in that keynote was around, you said, we, as in the General Store, were the only ones to make money out of Shoes of Prey, which was a bit cheeky, and I don't think you saw it as controversial as everyone else saw it, but it was fantastic. I loved it.
Yeah, it's probably true. Yeah, I don't know, but...
Now, mate, we are here to talk about memorable physical retail experiences, because the General Store, as an agency, has a lot to do across all areas of retail, and been particularly impressed by how you've been able to transform a lot of retailers, especially more traditional retailers, to have physical experiences that were really memorable. Before we get into that, can you give us a bit of background, a little bit of kind of flavour on what the General Store is, a bit about yourself? Because I remember the first time I met you, it was a presentation around the psychology of shopping as well. So you've got a really deep background here. So can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and the General Store?
Yeah. So I grew up in the strategy department of ad agencies. And I always thought there was a flaw in that model, which was basically like no matter what the client's problem was, the answer was always an ad. So there's this problem there, I think, with consulting businesses that specialise by discipline. And so that's why I started the General Store. It was like, what if you could do the complete opposite of that? Instead of specialising by discipline, we're specialised by market sector, which is retail, and then we offer all the services that retail marketing people need. So they need strategy work done, they need brand identity or naming, they need stores designed, advertising campaigns, products, packaging design, loyalty programs. So that's what the general store does, really. And sometimes clients, our projects touch all of those areas. Sometimes it might be one or two, or sometimes it's even none. Like it might just be a research model. But what I'm interested in is that we could stitch together a more interesting set of answers than if you were just a discipline specific kind of offer.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that's really needed, especially to help retailers reimagine what life can be, because sometimes it's so easy to get bogged down in the I've got to hit this target and this is the way we've always done business. And what I've seen from you and your team is the ability to really shake things up, but also take people on that journey. It's not just about presenting flashy advertising agency ideas. You actually bring them to life as well.
Yeah. And I think it's useful for retailers because we still do, especially in large retailers, have very siloed kinds of businesses, and the digital technology people don't talk enough to the store people or the product people or the marketing people or whatever. So we're big fans of bringing all those pieces together. And my view is that the customer experience should be as blurry as possible. People should walk in and go, I think the best experiences are you don't know if they're an ad, they're a store, it's a loyalty play. Like the blurrier, the better. And I think because real humans, let's not even call them customers, like humans don't experience things in those silos. They want the full thing. So that's really, I think, what the G-Store's about, is to try and help people bring it all together in a seamless kind of way.
That's brilliant. Yeah. And I read a quote from NRF, and I can't remember who did it, and I'll put it in the show notes, but it was something like, I've never heard a customer refer to our store as a channel. Yeah. In fact, I've never actually heard a customer use the word channel.
Yeah, true.
We use it all the time, right?
True. So, it's interesting, jumping in on that, I think that language is important. I'm a big advocate of us in the business using less MBA kind of language, less management language, and more human language. I agree. Let's stop talking about channels and let's stop talking about customers. Let's talk about humans and how can we create great human experiences.
That's so true, because retail's one of those industries, isn't it, where we all experience it, whereas if you're in, say, mining, not everyone's been in mining before, but everyone coming into retail, and that's why you find so many people coming from retail backgrounds coming all the way through into corporate or wherever they end up starting their own businesses. Everyone has an innate sense of what a good retail experience is, because we all experience it in our day-to-day lives. It's not removed from what we do. So I think your call out around it's just a human experience is so true.
And what's interesting is I find that in boardrooms that somehow we flip into a different part of our brains, which are incredibly smart, incredibly logical, and incredibly unrealistic in terms of how we actually all behave in the real world. And I think that's super interesting, and that I think we miss tricks in that sort of mental dexterity that doesn't happen. If we can get back into just the mindset of the way people consume in the real world, it's far more interesting and powerful.
So true. So how do you, as a strategist, get into that mindset? We heard from Michael with his new plant meat business.
Plant-based meat, Fable.
Yeah. That his research, and one of his big lessons was about, he now just goes into the supermarkets and watch people as they assess all the options in front of them, and then approaches them and go, hey, why did you choose this one over this one? And one of his key lessons to come out of the Shoes of Prey experiment is what people say they're going to do versus what they actually do.
There's a big difference, and there is a thing in psychology, which is the way that the brain operates in terms of when we verbalize things, it uses the rational part of our brain. And so our brains are wired to sound smart, but the reality is we do things for very emotional reasons. So what Michael found was when he spoke to women and said, would you be interested in a website where you could customize your own shoes, you could get any shoe you wanted, they would verbally go, yes, I would be. Like, that's what they identified with. But the reality was that they wouldn't do it. It was overwhelming, it was intimidating, it was sort of difficult to do, but that was harder stuff to verbalize and harder stuff to rationalize. So I do think that consumer research can be very dangerous. Some obvious stuff can come out of research that can actually steer you in the wrong direction. At worst, steer you in the wrong direction, but at best, kind of not reveal the really powerful human insight. So that's one area when we're in research I'm really obsessed with is what is the real human insight. And honestly, sometimes it doesn't even come out of research, and you need to sit down with the client at that point and kind of go, this is what people have said, but this is what we think is the real emotional driver. And it's hard to justify that. So you need kind of brave people who are willing to go off-piste, walk away from research sometimes and go, here's the real insight, and this feels right, let's back that one. Because it can be dangerous not to. It can be dangerous to go off-piste, but sometimes it's dangerous not to go off-piste as well.
If you're not selling direct to consumer, you run the risk of leaving your brand's future in the hands of your retail distribution partners. D2C is a hot topic with some of the benefits including the ability to build your own brand, own the customer relationship, and leverage data to create a unique and lucrative customer experience. And there's no one that knows more about selling direct to consumer than our partner Shopify Plus. Luckily, they've put together a free direct-to-consumer guide which teaches you how to start selling direct and even take on Amazon. Visit shopifyplus.online/DTC to download your copy today.
So if we talk about some of the more traditional methods that you use in terms of customer research, I'm assuming there's things like data analytics out of Google Analytics, footfall, sales numbers, all that quantitative piece. Here you do some kind of customer focus groups. Is there anything else that you do to try and paint that picture before you get to the point where you go, I'm not sure we're getting the full picture?
So traditionally there are two types of research, quant and qual. Qualitative research being more sort of psychology and insight based, and quant being more measurable. And so for the quant stuff, like you say, you can use all those digital tools you were talking about, online surveys, things like that. For the qual, we can use focus groups is the traditional kind of qual method. My view though is I always add one other element. I prioritize this element over all other forms of research. And that is to try and do some level of observational research. So be in store, try and watch, 30, 40 people shop a category or shop an entire store. We'll often add to that intercept interviews. That's a little bit like doing a focus group, and it's got its pros and cons, but my view is because you're in the wild, you're there and it's closer to the reality. And sometimes they'll say things that you've just observed they've done the opposite, and that's sometimes where you can get the real nugget. But I kind of, there's that notion.
Is that literally stopping people in the real world and going, hey, I'm Matt, I'm from X. Do you even say where you're from, or do you just...
you kind of morally have to, I think. But usually people are pretty open to chat. There are some categories. We did some work once in women's swimwear. And so, I couldn't be the one observing women shop for swimwear and then intercept them afterwards, but fortunately have female members of our team who could do a good job of that.
Very wise choice.
But I think that's where kind of like the big opportunities are, is to kind of look for that, get as close to reality as possible. I mean, I always refer to focus groups. It's like watching a lion at a zoo. I reckon it's better to watch a lion in the wild, and that's what observational and intercept interviews, it's closer to being in the wild, and you can get better insights that way.
I love that quote you referred to up there was around the best research tool that you can have is comfortable walking shoes.
Comfy shoes, definitely really believe that.
It's fantastic, and I think we see that so much in retail too, where we get comfortable behind our desks and we rely on what we can see in social media or in Google Analytics or wherever, and we go, this is painting the picture, but nothing beats actually.
That's right. I do think it's got its role. It's not like one or the other.
No.
But strategy by Google is an epidemic. And got to get out from behind the desk and go and walk stores for sure.
So say you've got all that quantitative and qualitative data that you've been able to gather, and you have this gut feeling that you still haven't cracked the real insight here that's going to differentiate it for your customers. Do you have a process around how you kind of formulate those insights to bring back to a retailer to make them change their ways?
It's a very good question, and I think my starting point is to not trust the research. So that is my starting point. Sometimes I'm proven wrong. But I would say very rarely, but there are occasions where actually the answer was there, and that's useful. So my selling assumption is there's got to be a deeper insight. So I think that's an important starting point. From there, though, it's really, intellect and imagination and questioning and using the brain, man, like not using other people to tell you, but get in there and think it through and try and find it. And sometimes, I would like to think that normally there might be 3 to 5 hypotheses that start to crystallize in your mind, and then you can hunt them down and see sometimes, if one's stronger than the other, or one's just blatantly wrong, or but really you're looking for the best 1 or 2 insights that are going to guide you. And I think that's where you can see retailers with a bit of X factor that kind of got to that level, I think.
And this isn't a new concept, right? Because ad agencies have been kind of doing this for years, is that ad agencies have whole creative teams which are often, not always, but often trying to stay away from data so that they can let their creative brains run wild and think about human behaviour and how they might be able to interrupt or influence that behaviour with new ways. So I think applying that to retail is something that's overlooked, and it's fantastic that you've got a way to do that. Because that's one piece. One piece is having that insight. The next part is convincing retailers to make that change. And it's often we kind of get stuck in cycles as retailers, and, change is always hard. What have you found to be some of the best ways to introduce new ideas, especially radical ideas, to retailers for them to at least start considering?
Well, I mean, that's an interesting question, because largely when they've invited us into their business, their mindset is already there. So I would say we don't find it that difficult to get those interesting conversations happening. But there is certainly, I think, 2 types of retailers out there, which is basically the confident ones and the low confident ones. And the high confident ones usually have some ambition and will jump on those opportunities. The low confidence ones, they might be risk adverse, right? And so there you can frame up that, yes, it can be risky to change, it can be risky to try a new thing, but it's also very risky not to change. And so sometimes exploring the angle of not changing, like commercially exploring that, versus commercially exploring a new idea, can lay out a pretty clear path.
And what type of retailers do you see as ripe for introducing new ideas? So if you get briefs of certain types of retailers, are there any that you kind of, not naming specific names, but you go, or is it better if a retailer's sales are declining? Are they more open to new ideas? Or, hey, they're on a growth path and expansion. Is that a better time to introduce new ideas?
Interesting question, Nathan. But my view is that I go in with a relatively high level of optimism on any of those sorts of projects, that people will be up for it.
And you've got the track record to show it. So I think
I mean, we're at a point where we've got good work out there, and so people are hiring us for that. So I think it's a little bit easier. But for those people who we're not dealing with, for example, I mean, I just do think that I mean, humans change frequently. The way that we consume everything is changing. And for retail businesses that think the answer is don't change, I think you're fucked. So I don't know. Those people don't reach out to us so much, but maybe they should. I don't know.
Absolutely. All right. So let's talk about innovative retail then. Have you got any retailers in your mind who are doing a fantastic job at being innovative, at constantly changing with their customers as they change?
I think it's easy to comment and retailer bash, right? And, it's from sitting on the sidelines, it's always easy to comment on who can do better. But I think there are people doing really, really good work. You and I were just in a session then at Inside Retail Live, listening to Peter from Lush talk about her business. I mean, that is a phenomenally creatively led, customer focused business, and it's a business that really shouldn't be as successful as it is. They sell bath bombs. Who the fuck needs a bath bomb? Right. But these guys inspire through their creativity, their execution, their team who are so drunk the Kool-Aid that they've inspired millions of people all around the world, an Australian concept, amazing, all around the world, to buy bath bombs. But amongst other soaps and amazing...
of course.
Yeah, and even on the soaps and things, the stuff that we actually need, theirs would be, I'm making it up, 3, 4, 5 times the price. Like, you don't need that soap, but they are doing an incredible job of inspiring people to shop a category that we don't need to shop. But so, brilliant example, I think.
They're also unapologetic about it, right? Yeah. So a couple of examples that they gave was around what they stand for, that they actively campaign politically for some of the things that they believe in as an organisation, and they're unapologetic about that. They know that they'll alienate a certain amount of people. Yeah. But they'll actually embrace a whole bunch more, and that'll stick to them all.
I think that's that thing we were talking about before, about just being human. The worst thing you can be is corporate. You know, no one's inspired by a corporate kind of experience. And so they're just being human and authentic. And look, I mean, they've probably got conceivably, all the campaigns I've seen them do, I've really share their personal values. But if they did one that I didn't personally agree with, I would still respect them. It just feels human, you know. I'd still respect them for having a point of view and for going for it. So I think we're too timid of a vocal minority. You know, that you know, you've got you'll have a vocal minority, a vocal that are negative, a vocal minority that are massively supportive, but the vast majority in the middle are just going to enjoy the ride and enjoy the dialogue, and we don't hear from them. No. But there's great business and great humans in there too that we can deal with. So I think that comes down to that human thing, just be human, be passionate, be interesting, and that is also engage. It's attractive.
Yeah, it's attractive. It's attractive for your customers, but it's also your team. And Peter was actually saying in there, she said, our team actually get upset with us if we aren't passionate enough or vocal enough about some of our causes on issues. So it's like, it kind of breeds through the whole ecosystem, doesn't it?
Yeah, she's just done a great example, I think, of creating a bit of a movement that people are passionate about. And think about that for a second. It's fucking soap. Yeah. How did she create a movement that people are so passionate about? And it's just around soap and bath bombs. Yeah. I mean, it's genius. And so my answer there is yes, that is great retail. Yes. And we need more of that. Yeah. That's exciting. Yeah.
Any other retailers you're seeing doing it really well here in Australia?
Oh gosh.
I know, I'll put you on the spot there.
Yeah, and I'm terrible at these sorts of questions.
No, that's okay.
But one thing that I kind of find interesting is that I do think that there are two types of retailer that need to be celebrated. There is the efficient, like the Amazon, the Woolworths, we do want to consume that low-cost, big range, Bunnings, low-cost, big range, super efficient kind of retail experience. We definitely want that. But for any retailer that's not out there to be the cheapest and the most convenient, then you need to have an amazing experience. So there's only two types of retail, I think. There's the high experience or the high convenience. And if you're not going to be winning on price, you need to be winning on experience. And so, I think Lush is an example of that. Amazon, an example of super high convenient, low cost kind of retail. But there are lots in that space. Yeah.
Do you think that they could both come under customer experience? Because I think a lot of the times when we talk customer experience, we go, oh, you want to come in and we'll get you a nice drink, we'll sit you down, we'll spend 20 minutes showing you through the product range, and we think that's a good product, a good customer experience. And for sure, it is for some customers. But some people just go, actually, if I can get that thing that I want, and you make it so much quicker, and I don't have to wait, and I'm in and I'm out in 10 seconds flat, that's a great customer experience to me as well.
You're exact. That's the way the Iconic think, for example. We've done a bit of work with them over the years, and the CEO is now the global CEO, Patrick Schmidt. He would talk about, we want our customer experience to be so convenient and so frictionless that people think it's awesome, and that is. But I think there's that thing of, we think a lot about shopping modes. Sometimes people want to shop fast. Sometimes people want to shop slow. So it depends on what kind of customer you're serving. And a great customer experience could just be get the fuck out of my way. Like, it's convenient, fast, cheap, great customer experience. And I think too often at these conferences and stuff, we poo-poo that kind of experience. But we shouldn't. That's got a role for sure. Absolutely. And the Iconic, I think, is a great example of that.
Yeah, I think they're doing some fantastic stuff around purpose, around convenience, around they're really tying it together a lot of pieces.
They really grew out of super convenience. It was pioneer 2-hour delivery, great returns process, big range, easy to search. So that was where they started. And they're trying to round that out now with more purpose, more humanity, more something to believe in, which is smart. And Amazon's the same, started super convenient. They're trying to innovate more into, more engaging customer experience. And I think, some of the high experience retailers are trying to get more efficient, and that's all cool. But I think, just really recognizing that you just got to nail your shopping mode that you're relevant in, and that's the name of the game, really.
Klarna recently conducted a study of Australian shoppers. They found that 40% are more likely to shop with a retailer who offer flexible payment options, such as letting people pay in installments. And it makes sense, right? In today's unpredictable economy, empowering customers with financial choice is critical to maximising your online sales. To read more about this research and understand how you can offer Klarna's payment options, download the free report, The Empowerment Economy from Klarna. Visit klarna.com.au/empower.
Is there anything that pinpoints for you the types of experience that customers are searching for your brand? Like, I mean, you've got a gut feeling, right, around it. But is there anything quantitative that you come across or ways to understand that?
I hate your question.
Yes. I'm going to end the podcast right there.
That's a dangerous question. I don't like to answer those sorts of questions because it so depends on the category, the customer, and that's sort of a bit of a silver bullet kind of.
We're all about silver bullets. Come on.
So not really. But for me, it's kind of like, understand the humans that you're dealing with, and then just be creative and innovative and awesome. Like, be attractive, and you'll win. I think there are different sorts of people that are attracted to retail. You get the really analytical people who set their financial goals, and then they innovate hard, innovate smart to try and hit those goals. Or you get the kind of creatively led people who are just on a mission. Although we were talking about Peter from Lush before. I don't know her very well at all, but I get the sense that she's a very creatively led person, and the numbers follow. I think both approaches are valid, and it's just a kind of a thing of working out your style, really. Yeah.
Where do you see... We've both got ad agency backgrounds.
Yeah.
Where do you see the role of ad agencies in this whole creative process for retail? Because retail can be its own type of beast at times, like any industry can, I suppose.
Yeah.
What role do you see ad agencies playing in that?
I think times are exciting for creative businesses like ours that are consulting into retailers, because I think if you look at the trajectory of retail historically, it was about the retailer who could get that product, say a case of Coke, onto the gondola end the cheapest, and I could sell it for $24 a case and you could sell it for $23 a case, you would win. That was the job. The manufacturer brands, like Coca-Cola, did all the emotional brand building stuff. The retailer's job was get it in there really cheap. And that has completely changed now. So the supply chain process, sourcing out of China, the whole supply side of retail has been massively commoditized. There's still room for innovation for sure, but massively commoditized. So now it's the competitive edge is on demand generation. And that's where agencies like us are really good and useful. So I think retailers are more and more leaning on external people like us who thrive with these sorts of problems, who are inspired at looking at what's happening around the world and all those sorts of things. So I think retailers are seeing partners like us as more valuable partners than perhaps it was previously.
I think you've got to understand, if you're going in as an ad agency, a traditional ad agency, you've got to understand the drivers of retail, right? Because otherwise that'll come back and bite. You could have the most creative idea in the world, but unless you have those understand the drivers behind them, it'll fall over.
I think the other interesting thing too is that retail leaders are actually more creative people are being attracted into retail leadership roles. I think of some of the clients that we work with, and they're not as focused on the supply chain stuff. They're focused on how do I win more customers, or get them to shop more frequently, or get them to buy more when they're in the stores. So I think that bodes pretty well for our industry.
Yeah. Now, someone who leads strategy across all of retail, including online, in-store, the rest, how do you see, and I know you're a retail optimist as well, same as me, I'm very much a retail optimist. How do you see consumers using physical stores as part of that mix? Do you think physical stores will continue to be the bread and butter of retail and making up the majority of sales? Or do you think that they'll kind of become more of a marketing-driven acquisition, brand-building asset?
Good question. Very good question. The answer here, I think, is it will be both. I think online has got, as in e-commerce specifically, got more upside, more penetration in the mix for sure, particularly on that kind of shopping fast kind of area, like the kind of high commit, like groceries, like the Marley Spoons and Hello Freshes of the world that are making that sort of that side of life super convenient. I think physical experiences will possibly get more and more theatrical, more like museum, almost performance art. Like it'll probably go in that direction. But I think there'll still be, and I think there should be, highly functional, efficient retail spaces as well. What you'll probably lose is that bit in the middle.
Yeah.
And it'll either be like highly experiential, like the Nike flagships around the world, or highly functional, like a Bunnings store.
Yes.
Kind of thing.
Kind of stack it high, sell it low.
Yeah, that's right. Stack it high, watch it fly kind of thing.
That's it.
But what about you in terms of, you coming more from the digital angle? What do you think is the role of digital versus stores?
I think stores need to be seen as an asset.
Yeah.
Right? So I think you've essentially got a physical asset there that you can use any way that your customers want to interact with you.
Yeah.
Where I get annoyed is when the measure of store success is based on sales per square metre. And that's a very tangible, great, I could put this much product in and hope to see it fly out the door. I think what we've seen, especially with retailers like Walmart, in things, how they're using their click and collect, even they launched something where you can buy online and it's not only pick up in store, but they'll use their stores to bring it out to your car so you don't have to turn the engine off. To me, that's a really nice way of rethinking what a physical space can be.
And then what do you think the digital opportunity is going forward?
I think the digital opportunity for that is connecting the experiences. So exactly to your point before, it's working out what is driving your customers to shop with you. And if it is convenience, how do you make that experience more convenient? Because remember, even in super cheap days, when we were talking about things like selling oil, right? If you want to sell oil, and a lot of people are thinking about buying oil maybe on a Friday night or a Saturday morning, very close to the job at hand, trying to sell them online is not worthwhile, because you sell them online, even though they're browsing online, it probably won't be delivered to them by Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and by then it's too late. They've missed their weekend. So then you've got to rethink that and go, what's the best way to get this in the hands of my customers who might be browsing at the last minute? How do I get this in their hands on the Saturday morning? And that's where click and collect and same day delivery, and that's not even being inventive around the options. But how do you physical store to connect that experience, that Friday night to a Saturday morning?
I think, digital makes a lot of sense in terms of the functional stuff, like researching product, or I've been in store, now I want to buy, boom, I'll buy, put my credit card details in. What about like the experiential side from a digital perspective? Do you think there's opportunity there, or
are you talking in terms
like
of
inspiring people? Or
I think there's a huge opportunity on, where we were talking about the two types of customers that really want convenience and that those who want to be totally part of the experience. It's a massive opportunity around engagement, whether that is one-on-one with a retailer. So, hey, connect me with a specialist in, we were talking about bra fitting up there before, a specialist in that, or actually connect me to other customers and make me part of this community, because I may not be shopping with you every day, and this might actually even be a once every couple of months, once a year kind of purchase. But hey, I'm going to be talking in these groups constantly and keep me engaged there. So I think there is a way to do that job there. I don't think the future of online engagement to physical store is going, hey, let's collect the database, let's find out what Matt's birthday is, and then when he comes in store, let's go, happy birthday, Matt, on a digital screen. To me, that's not experience. That's just customers will see right through that. Totally. That's data. It's not adding any value to them.
Yeah, and it's not human.
No, it's not human.
I know you've just got my data.
Exactly.
Don't do that.
Exactly. Yeah. It's doing things because we can do them.
Another example, I hate it when you're shopping at Coles or Woolies and on the screen it says, says, hi, my name is Josie. Thanks for shopping. I'm like, well, just you're a human. You're right there. Maybe encourage the humans to say it. There's some things screens shouldn't say, I reckon.
Exactly. And even here, it's like we're at the Pullman Hotel at the moment, and you go into your room and it's a nice welcome screen on your TV when you go in, but it's been the same TV screen forever, and I'm kind of like, if I've stayed here before, why haven't you just got the TV set to the station or the you know what I mean? Like that's a real kind of customer insight rather than a personalization, which is
adding value one.
Name on the screen. So I think you're onto a good thing. I can't let you leave without asking your opinion on one of the most controversial ads that are going around, and which is based on a customer insight. The Burger King organic Whopper. You've obviously seen it. And for anyone who hasn't seen it, they basically came out with an ad based on the fact that they're saying that their burgers are, do you call it what?
Preservative free.
Preservative free, and the burger is covered in mold. So there's kind of two thoughts here, is that one, it's a great I think there's general is that it's a great customer insight. It's more around the execution of it. That showing a moldy burger is either really good advertising or really bad advertising. Where do you stand on that?
Oh, I am massively pro this campaign. Yeah, massively pro. I think it's incredibly brave. So wins on cut through and memorability and buzzworthiness. Everybody's talking about it around the world. So massive win. And I also think a massive dramatisation of preservative free. I think that people, yes, it's disgusting to look at. It's not appetizing. It breaks all those rules. And there has been some discussion around, it's, advertising kind of, showy advertising, but will it actually work? In my mind, I think it will strongly land the punch that that product is preservative free. And so when you are weighing up the options of Burger King versus Macca's, and people are conscious of preservatives and stuff now, so I think in that moment that is a pretty powerful visual that's been seared into people's brains that will be remembered. So I think in that decision-making moment it will work. Maybe in the viewing moment it might be a bit off-putting, but in the actual decision-making moment, am I going to get a Whopper or a Big Mac? I think you'll go, well, the Whopper's got no preservatives in it, so that's a tick, let's go that way.
You don't think that it would, when you're making that decision of, do I put my mouth around this Whopper, that you'll be picturing the mouldy burger?
I don't. I think that it will land very strongly, the preservative-free thing, and that's a powerful differentiator. Yeah. I think, there's a great David Ogilvy quote from years ago. He's a very quotable guy, but he said, the customer isn't an idiot. She's your wife. She's smart. I think we try to cater to the lowest common denominator, and it's a massive mistake to do that. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
What's your view? Are you pro or con?
I'm pro.
You're pro.
I'm pro. Yeah. Obviously I haven't seen any sales figures.
Yeah.
I think it's a huge risk, and I'm just pro risk.
Yeah.
And I think you think about marketing in that category, it's a bloody hard category to market, right? And they've been able to stand out against the much bigger budgets and get that message through. And they actually had something to sell. So I think they've done a really good job there.
Global CMO there is widely regarded as one of the best in the world, potentially the best in the world. Yeah. So I follow him. I think he's a smart operator. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, thank you very much for your insights around, finding the truth behind customers and then how to turn that into innovation. It's been fantastic.
That was fun.
That was good.
Thanks.
Where can people find you and find out more about your work and more about the General Store?
Oh, you could Google Matt Newell at the General Store. You could visit thegstore.com.au and have a look at some of our work.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Nathan.
I really love Matt's thinking and the way that he explains how customer understanding doesn't necessarily equal certainty. Research and insights definitely guide us, but at the end of the day, we need to take risks with creative ideas to make real connections. My favourite quote from Matt was, "The most valuable research tool is a pair of comfortable shoes." So true. And in the times of COVID-19, how I miss that. Whether that be browsing a mall, watching customers decide at the moment of truth, or one of my favourites, while on public transport, putting my phone away to watch others on theirs, it gives such reliable insights and it sparks ideas that you never knew were there. I firmly believe that more retailers need to spend less time at their desks and more time connecting with customers and customer service teams. When the world opens back up, make walkarounds a recurring appointment in your calendar. If you like what you've listened to, please leave us a review. For seasoned listeners of podcasts, you are probably sick of hearing it, but it really does make a difference. Also, if you have any feedback or suggestions on how we can make the podcast even better, let me know. I love hearing how we can get better. If you want more behind the scenes, visit addtocart.com.au and subscribe to our email list. We'll alert you when new episodes are released and give you the summarised versions for when you can't listen straight away. Until next time, thanks for listening and keep adding to cart.